So I know we're not that far into 2026 yet, but I feel fairly confident in saying that this is my favorite album of the year so far. And honestly, if I was guessing come the end of the year, I really do think this is one that could be in the album of the year conversation. And the record I'm talking about is the new By Storm album, My Ghost Go Ghost. By Storm is the experimental hip hop duo of producer Parker Corey and rapper Richie with a T, which rose out of the ashes of Injury Reserve, a hilarious, hard hitting, and boundary pushing hip hop trio from the 2010s that lost one of its members, Groggs, when he passed away in 2020. And as the two remaining members cleaned up what recorded material Injury Reserve had with Groggs, it's clear that they were already on a more experimental path, but following his death, it also took a much darker tone on the critically acclaimed and still very beloved By the Time I Get to Phoenix, which is the final Injury Reserve record. So now, several years later, we have My Ghost Go Ghost, the debut album from By Storm, and they are continuing to push even further away from the conventional signifiers of hip hop. Instrumentally and compositionally, these are sparse tracks that are only loosely populated, but with things like strings and keys and bass, but a very rumbling, deep undertone of bass, not the kind of instrumentation or song structures that you're typically going to hear on your average hip hop record. And their experimental ambition creates these really fascinating and compelling sonic moments, like the track Dead Weight, which has this really anxiety inducing push and pull that moves from one channel to the other when you listen to it, or the track Best Interest, which is a kind of dark, brooding cut, the exact kind of thing you would want for a standout Billy Woods feature. But it's also an album whose lyrical and thematic content is really, really worth looking into. The opener, Can I Have You for Myself, sees Richie introspecting on his own selfishness as a soon to be dad. And the closing track, GGG, is where all of the feelings of mourning and the responsibility to carry the torch for Groggs and for Injury Reserve all comes to a head in just a awe-inspiring, stunning moment to close the record off. Combined with amazing singles like And I Dance and Double Trio 2, you have a really remarkable track list here. In fact, the only song that I don't really love is the single Zigzag, which in its full entirety on this record is pretty much the only point that the compositional expansiveness starts to feel taxing rather than fascinating. So yeah, I'm gonna hit this thing with the 9. I think it's amazing, experimental, fascinating, boundary pushing, and deeply emotionally compelling. Must listen for experimental hip hop fans. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments.